Hello. It's early here and the sun is gently filtering through a swaying eucalyptus tree in the garden. It's quiet. The Christians say that you should give the early hours to God. As I work more and more with the many eyes, I started off with the ones which are very disturbing and well known to me, and then I found many others. But the more I look at it, I see that even the operating personality, the operating eyes that I live in, that I do my spiritual work in, yes, even those have to go. Even those have to go, they all have to be washed away. I remember U.G. Krishnamurti saying, you wouldn't want this. If you knew what spirituality was about, you wouldn't really want it. Because it means that your operating personality has to go. I'm not sure if the Hydra is a perfect metaphor. In the early days of the cinema, there was this a band that was looped in a circle that was spun around very quickly to give the appearance of something, to give the appearance of a horse galloping. And it was formed from a sequence of images. And as it spun around, it gave the appearance of a galloping horse. That's how our false consciousness works. There are individually crystallized aspects, the many eyes, and as they cycle together, the goal is to give the appearance that you're a real being. Give the appearance both to yourself and to the outside world, since nobody has any recollection anymore of what a real person is. And there is this essence anxiety because people are not established in their real heart. They, as a matter of course, don't feel so very good. Recently, on the weekend, I was watching myself be angry, and there is a sense of pain inside me, and I have no other way of dealing with it, since there is no knowledge passed to me of what to do, and so it's projected outside. If I am angry or criticize people outside, it's a projection of one of my fragments and frustration. And all human beings are in that situation. There is no human being, or very few, who are not like that. They feel anxiety because they are not established in their real heart, and they have no knowledge of how to do that. They have no knowledge of how to fix things, and so everybody's projecting everywhere, and that's how wars begin. People see ghosts, and they have there is no knowledge anymore, and perhaps there never was in society, of how to remedy this situation. I was recommended to read a bit of chapter 12 of Gnosis 1 by Muraviev. So I opened it up, I've got a copy, and started reading. First page, second page, third page. On every page are a whole bunch of concepts. the ray of creation, the law of three, this and that, the inner circle of humanity, written down like a horse galloping. We're so used to this, and you know what I notice is that you read these pages of these books, and when it says absolute truth in the text, you read it, absolute truth, and it's like your chest puffs out a little bit. You're reading one paragraph, two paragraph, absolute truth. Do you see that in yourself? And it gives you some feeling of pride, some emotional workout. And then after you've read 10 pages, you put the book down, and the only result in you is those associative emotional stimulations. And maybe you can walk down the street saying to yourself, I learned about absolute truth today. But this is absolutely not how you learn anything. To learn one thing, you have to be very intensely engaged in it. And it has to be three-brained engagement. And it has to involve the transmission of a kind of higher sense of things. Even if you're learning from a master builder, a craftsman, a carpenter, an electrician. And by being with him, there's this focusing of your energies, and it fuses into a crystal of knowledge. And then you have one new crystal inside you. They become the kernels of solidity inside you. These are things you can trust, because when they were laid down in you, they were laid down through transmission from somebody who knew, and through the active participation of your three centers, of your intensity, of your essence intensity. And so when it was laid down inside of you, it is solid, it is objective, and it becomes the kernel of your reason, of your comprehension of life. And because one piece of knowledge can be applied to all scales of life, your life will change. Practically speaking, when you learn like that, it's like you see the situation from different scales simultaneously, and with the help of a teacher, of somebody who knows. And together, this multi-level vision of what is happening forces it to fuse in the crucible. And then it goes in. One piece of knowledge that is laid down in such a concrete way will change your life, because it becomes the kernel of your soul's reason. And if you understand what I mean, you can discard almost all human knowledge, past and present. This week, I happened to watch a man who was Japanese origin but was an American. And he was a Zen teacher trained in San Francisco. And he was talking about Zen, and he had this big grin. He was smiling, just like those people at the entrance of SeaWorld. When you go to SeaWorld to see Shamu, they grin, say, hey, have a nice day. Everybody's so happy. What on earth has this got to do with Zen? And then there's Thich Nhat Hanh, who is now dead, who talked like this. He said, but this flower is so beautiful. Can you not feel the flower? What has that got to do with Zen either? These people are either lost or identified with a victim position. The entire media that we experience is written by Hasnamas victim people. The entire industry pulls in victim mentality. Rather than courage, strength, light, fortitude, restraint, modesty. Gurdjieff says that an individual being has his own triam as a camno. He becomes his own kernel. He has his own law of three at the front and heptaparaparshinok at the back. And if you feed from the media of victims, then you're feeding from the trail of the Hasnamas. You're feeding from the back of them, rather than from the front. I chanced upon a church in the middle of nowhere last week. I must have walked past it hundreds of times. Inside there was a great angel high up aloft at the back of the altar. Great wings pointing to the heavens. As I sat there on my own, he spoke to me. He tried to help me. There's no one else. I don't merit such attention, but there just is nobody else. And I went to the mass there on Sunday, yesterday. I was shocked. I can tell you, I was so shocked that such a thing could still exist. There were 6 priests in white and black smocks, 6 of them. The clouds of frankincense were everywhere. The singing, led by a small group of older women, the singing was absolutely beautiful. And at one point, the 6 priests were kneeling together, one holding a golden cross aloft on a staff. I was shocked. And after the Mass had ended, the procession walked to the Salve Regina. And again, the most beautiful singing of Hail Mary. I couldn't imagine such a thing could still exist. And the priest had read out an obituary, name after name after name, all English names, recognizably English. Not a single one not English. This is England. If England exists anywhere, it is here. This is the England that I was born in and I grew up in, before the dark forces have started eating it alive. During the Mass, I could feel a very beautiful energy vibrating inside me, and I cast my attention to it. And I could feel something very interesting, that it was knowledge. There was a structure in it. It was almost as if in the air I could feel a crystalline structure that had been formed by the devotion of 150 years of people who felt God in that church. I could almost see it in the air, a structure. It reminded me of my teacher. I could see something with him as well, although the structure was of a different type. Those people who talk